just talk once again about why this is an important cause for you?
Well, I think we've been able to do a lot of good things for a lot of people, over the last 4 or 5 years in the state of Alabama and all over the Southeast for that matter. And when we have a special circumstance like we had this year with the tornado and all the people that was affected by the devastation, we've been able to step up and even do more. And it's because of the generosity and contributions of a lot of people. And, today's important because this is the one day we get all those people who support Nick's kids to come together and have a great time. And it's great of Old Overton to have us here, and it's good to see all these folks once a year.
Gives you a rare opportunity to get out on the links too?
Yeah, well, I hope it's not too rare, but if I don't play this time of the year, I never get to play. So, but we love this golf course, and I play on one par 3, play one hole with every group, so I get the opportunity to spend 10 minutes or so with everyone here. But this is a first-class event, and we really appreciate and thank everyone who supported the tornado victims as well as Nick's kids, and trying to support the team-up effort to rebuild a community in Holt, but more the concept of people kind of getting together and doing that all over the state where we have need.
Talk about the SEC meetings. It seems like a lot of topics came out of there, and your thoughts?
Well, I thought the meetings were very, very productive, probably one of the most productive meetings that we've probably had, in the last few years. Mike Slav's always done a great job of, sort of organizing that and putting the SEC out in front of a lot of issues in terms of what we need to do to try to help college football be better and make sure that we're taking every precaution to take care of student athletes, and and I think some of the things that we did are going to be real positive to that in the future, and I don't really feel that it's going to create any management issues. It's going to affect the quality of play, and I think it's all good.
Coach, what were your thoughts on the changes that came out of Destin regarding the 7-on-7 tournaments?
Well, we've never really been involved in those. We haven't been allowed to be in those sort of unsanctioned events, I'm going to call them. So there's no real direct effect on any kind of evaluation or anything that we can have. I think that, the reasoning behind that is, and I'm not being critical of basketball, but, we don't want to kind of get to football like AAU basketball used to be, in terms of lots of people involved that are outside influences on young people, and some of those things were starting to occur in some of these organized events, and I think it's positive legislation. And again, I don't think it's anything that's going to hurt the young people, the players, the student athletes, but I do think it's a step in the right direction to control outside influences.
The cap on the signing classes was something that you really weren't in favor of. Can you talk about why that is?
Well, I'm always one to try to create as much opportunity as we can for young people, and the more restrictions we place, the tougher the management is. So the downside of that is you can't give as many people an opportunity. And I know that there was a lot of, concern about some of the people who have been given opportunities and how that affected them. But, that was minimal to me relative to the number of people who have benefited from the rules that we have right now. But I also feel that there's not a lot of occasions. If you look at our signing classes at Alabama, for example, I think they've been like 28, 27, 26, or less than 25 to start with. And I think that, it's not going to be that much of a management issue for us to be able to continue to create the same number of opportunities for young people and just try to manage it a little better.
Do you expect a ripple effect now with the other conferences going that direction?
Well, my opinion is, and I think this is what a lot of us in the SEC worry about, is when we make legislation like this that's not nationalized, that we put ourselves at a little bit of a disadvantage. Hopefully, the example that we're setting will be something that everybody else sees benefit in, and for the student athlete will want to do as well.
What about the tweak on the medical scholarships that are going through the SEC now?
It's always been that way. They've always reviewed this. There was just never a rule in place that, sort of gave them the authority to do it. But our conference office has always approved every medical that we've ever had. So I don't think it's really going to be any different.
We we've had the Ohio State stuff, and then yesterday Colt McCoy's girlfriend comes out and says that she knows of instances where boosters or whatever tried to give him things. Is that just kind of symbolic of this time of year where it's the summertime and there's not much going on, so this stuff seems to flare up this time every year?
Well, I think that, when these kind of things do occur, that, we all need to be conscious that, it's just not the reckless driving charges that we got to be concerned about, but we got to be concerned about the parking tickets too. And a lot of the things that happen are, sort of minor in nature, but an accumulation of a lot of those things, can create tremendous problems. And I think that's probably a lot of the case at a lot of the things that happened at Ohio State. And, it's something that we've certainly talked to our team about. And we just hope that all of our people out there that support our program know that they're not benefiting anything or anybody if they're doing something that's illegal to benefit a player. Now, on the other hand of that is I would vote for any legislation that improves the scholarship and the quality of life for players relative to what they get for, representing the university in the football program. I think the players should probably get more. And even though the thing we voted on in Destin is probably not something that we'd ever be able to get passed, and I think we kind of knew that when we did it, or for those of us who did it, but some kind of legislation that ties, cost of enrollment or, what a normal student has to pay to go to school or whatever it might be would be a lot more fair to all scholarship athletes.
How did that come about? Did Spurrier just come to you and say, hey, I've got this idea, what do you think? Or how did that matriculate?
Yeah, he just had that idea and, passed it around and either signed it or didn't sign it. And I told him right then, I said, Steve, I'm all for this. I'm all for the players, but this is never going to pass. I mean, it'll never pass. And being involved in some of the NCAA meetings earlier with the enforcement staff and the NFL Rules Committee and all that, these kinds of things get discussed, and I think you sort of develop a little bit of a sense of what has a chance, maybe to improve the quality of life based on changes that might be made. And I think cost of enrollment is probably the best road we all need to be focusing on to go down, and maybe there'll be some progress made toward that in the near future.
One more.
Can you update us on players that are transferring?
Who?
Good.
I mean, are you surprised? I mean, obviously every program goes through that. Are you surprised? You had so many
No, most of the time we're very aware. And, what I always say is I always ask players. I meet with all the players in January. I meet with all the players after spring practice. And, one of the questions I always ask is, what can we do to make your college experience better? We want every guy in our program to have a positive college experience. And in some cases, like Good's already graduated, and it was really important for him to play. And he told me that in January, and he says, Coach, I'm going to go through the spring. I'm going to work my tail off. But if it doesn't look like I'm going to get to play very much, I'd like to go my 5th year somewhere where I can play a lot. Are you okay with that? And I said, absolutely. I understand your circumstance, and I appreciate and respect, what is important to you in having a positive college experience. P.D. Smith was probably not going to play, had some behavioral issues that he had to work through academically, and decided to move on. Corey Grant is a fine young man that we really wanted to stay in our program. I think he was going to make a contribution to our team. There was really no sort of, I don't know what you would call it there, any reason other than how much he thought he was going to play, that, although I do think he had a role on our team and I do think he would have played, and that was a little bit of a surprise, but we certainly understand and want what's best for him, and wish him well.
Thanks, Coach. Thanks,
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.